Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Today's story, inshallah, you all know. And it's for a very famous prophet. Can anybody remember what was the last prophet we talked about last time? Not the one last prophet.
Was it Nuh?
No, Adel name, brother. Yeah.
Hud
and Salih. And we talked about how their stories were very similar. And things repeat themselves. Well, it's the same thing over again. Things repeat themselves. And people start worshiping idols. People start worshiping planets, stars, you name it, anything that comes their way. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this time, differently. Instead of sending someone, Akhahum, Hud, Salih, this time he sent a younger person. Does anybody know which prophet we're going to talk about today? Anybody wants to guess?
Ibrahim.
Sayyidina Ibrahim. She got it. We are talking about Sayyidina Ibrahim, inshallah. Sayyidina Ibrahim is mentioned a lot in the Quran. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has selected him among a very high status. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna Allah astafa, this is in Surah Al-Imran. Inna Allah astafa Adam wa Nuh. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has selected Adam and Nuh. And listen to this next part. وآل إبراهيم وآل عمران. So in the first two, what did he select? Individually. Adam, and then Noah, and then Al Ibrahim. Ibrahim, his family, and everything that calls. وآل عمران, it's the same thing. Al-Istifa is kind of purifying and selecting the cream of the crop. And that's what Sayyidina Ibrahim is about. All the prophets that came after came from his descendants. So as we mentioned, Sayyidina Ibrahim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent him at a younger age, unlike other prophets when they come at an older age. He came at a younger age. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاذْكُرْ فِي الْكِتَابِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ. This is in Surah Maryam. And today mostly I'm going to talk about a verse from the Quran. Sayyidina Ibrahim's story is very, very, very long. If we finish it, we finish it today. If we don't, we'll continue it next time, inshallah. وَاذْكُرْ فِي الْكِتَابِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ إِنَّهُ كَانَ صِدِّيقًا نَبِيًّا. So mention Ibrahim. He was a prophet. The next part is why I want to mention at the beginning that he was a younger fellow. Traditionally, what happens? You have an older person that kind of guides the people around him, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reversed the relationship this time. He brought Sayyidina Ibrahim. And the first person that he started to make da'wah for was his father. إِذْ قَالَ لِأَبِيهِ. He started talking to his father. يَا أَبَتِ لِمَا تَعْبُدْ مَا لَا يَسْمَعْ وَلَا يُبْصِرُ وَلَا يُغْنِي عَنْكَ شَيْئًا. Oh my father, oh my beloved father, يَا أَبَتِ. And listen to how he talks to his parents. And see how most of us talk to our parents these days. He's talking to him nicely. And he's explaining to him, oh my dear father, why do you worship something that does not benefit you? You know why he specifically talks about with his father? You know what was the father of Ibrahim used to do? He used to make the idols. So it would happen in his home. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided Sayyidina Ibrahim, and it's the reverse relationship where he started talking to his dad. But he's talking to him, inviting him nicely. يا أبتي إني قد جاءني من العلم ما لم يأتك. I have knowledge that you do not have. How many of you here think that you have knowledge more than your parents? Raise your hand. More than your parents in certain things. I know things more than my parents do. Now, how do I tell them that? Well, in a kind way. Not being arrogant. Remember, in the first place, I didn't even know ABCs. I didn't even know the alphabet. Who taught me the alphabet? And for those smart parents, they're going to say, oh, the teachers. Your parents did. Who first taught you how to talk? How to do things? Your parents did. So always remember that that's the case. So he said, يا أبتي إني قد جاءني من العلم ما لم يأتك فاتبعني. Follow me. And I will help and guide you. يا أبتي لا تعبد الشيطان إن الشيطان كان للرحمن عصيا. Oh my father, every single time he says it in a nice and kind way, nice and kind way, nice and kind way. يا أبتي إني أخاف أن يمسك عذاب من الرحمن. He keeps repeating it. What does his father respond to? قال أرغب أنت عن آلهة إبراهيم. He responds back, you don't want to follow my thoughts? Just like most of the parents would do. Respond back. You don't want to follow me? لئن لم تنتهي لأرجمنك. If you do not stop, I'm going to stone you. That's how the conversation started. From one side, how the child is talking to his father. On the other side, how the father was responding to his child. Okay? Remember this. Remember this relationship, because hopefully if we get to it this week, today, we'll talk about it. If we don't, we'll follow it next time. But always remember this relationship. How Ibrahim was talking to his father, and how his father talked back to him. So after he told him, I'm going to stone you, what did Ibrahim say? قال سلام عليك. Said, astaghfirullah. You know what? Keep your party. I'm just going to go my merry way, and I'll leave you. And I'll make dua that Allah guides you. How many of us have conversations with our parents and tell them, may Allah guide you? In a nice way. We don't. We don't. If we just said this is the only thing we talk about today, that's huge. If that's the only thing we talk about, bring that to happen.
Sometimes, even if kindly, like I told when I was talking to my mom, sometimes I would tell her to kindly, but the thing is, they generalize and they take it as an insult.
Which it's something, that's what I'm saying. Remember this relationship. It's as parents, we need to learn how to communicate, and we need to accept this. And as children, because I'm a parent and I'm a child at the same time, we're all eventually, you guys will. You'll be wearing both hats. So you need to know how to communicate back and forth. And yes, it's not easy, especially how we were raised. Oh, you're talking back to me? Who do you think you are? Well, I just have an opinion. I need to have a conversation with you. Sometimes that doesn't go very lightly, right? So he said, Astaghfirullah Rabbi innahu kana bi hafiya. وأعتزلكم وما تدعون من دون الله وأدعو ربي عسى ألا أكون بدعاء رب شقيا. So what Ibrahim decided to do, I'm going to let go. I'm going to separate myself from all the disbelief that's happening around me. Now what's the setting? These people worship idols. Ibrahim is there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guided him. And he decided to do what? أعتزلكم. I'm going to separate myself from you. Now he's still there living with them, but I'm going to separate myself from them. فَلَمَّا اعْتَزَلَهُمْ وَمَا يَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says what? When he separated himself from them, what were they doing? يَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. Whatever they were worshipping, away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَهَبْنَا لَهُ إِسْحَاقَ وَيَعْقُوبَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted him children. In a nutshell, what does this say? When you move away from sin, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant you. Will give you something back. Some people don't look at it that way. Oh, I'm leaving the place that I'm in, I'm leaving the people that I know, I'm leaving all this. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you something back. I wanted to hammer this because this is very important. The relationship between the father and the son and how this works. And remember, we're going to talk about it today. The second part I want to talk about, and today just basically going to be snippets from Prophet Ibrahim, and this is based on the verses of the Quran. The next one, you guys know the story. And it's the story about the idols. What did Ibrahim do to the idols? Yes.
He chopped their heads off and put the axe with the biggest idol instead, waved it on that.
And we've done that. Does everybody agree with what Saif just said? What did Saif say? No. So you agree with what he said. It's basically Ibrahim went and destroyed that. Why did he do that?
Just a comment. Wasn't that his only mistake in his life, that he lied?
That's something else. No, there's three of them. We'll talk about that later. Yeah. Go ahead. Say,
to show them that, like, they're powerless.
they're powerless. The whole idea that Ibrahim was trying to the whole idea that Ibrahim was trying to explain to them, these idols are what? Stone. They won't do anything to you. They will never do anything to you. They're useless. But what did they say? But this is what our parents used to worship. This is what we do. You're coming down and changing this based on what? What does Allah say subhanahu wa ta'ala? فَنَظَرَ نَظَرَ النُّجُومِ فَقَالَ إِنِّي سَقِيمٌ. That's what you're referring to. That he said that I'm sick, I'm tired. Because they had a whole gathering that they were going to. And he said, you know what, I'm tired, I can't go. And that's one that lie that you're mentioning. I can't go with you. فَتَوَلَّى عَنْهُمْ مُدْبِرِينَ. So they left and they went among themselves. فَرَاغَ إِلَىٰ آلِهَتِهِمْ فَقَالَ أَلَا تَأْكُلُونَ. So he went to these idols and started talking to them. أَلَا تَأْكُلُونَ. You eat? مَا لَكُمْ لَا تَنْطِقُونَ. Why don't you talk back? I'm communicating with you. Talk back to me. فَرَاغَ عَلَيْهِمْ ضَرْبًا بِالْيَمِينِ. If this was a god, wouldn't it defend itself? He keeps hitting them and chopping them and nothing's happening. Then Ibrahim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him guidance, right? He could have destroyed all of them. But what was the whole purpose of destroying some of them, or most of them? Yeah. To show that they're powerless. And what he did, he took the axe or whatever he was using and put it on one of them. And told them, when they came back, they said, who did this to our idols? This is their response. This is the God that you're worshipping, and you're asking who did this to our idols? And what does Sayyidina Ibrahim say? This is the one that did it. That's the one. Go on and address it with him. SubhanAllah. This is in Surah Al-Anbiya. So when he told them, go ahead and this is the one that did it, what was their response? And I'll read this from Surah Al-Anbiya. وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا إِبْرَاهِيمَ رُشْدَهُ مِنْ قَبْلُ وَكُنَّا بِهِ عَالِمِينَ إِذْ قَالَ لِأَبِيهِ وَقَوْمِهِ مَا هَذِهِ التَّمَاثِيلُ الَّتِي أَنْتُمْ لَهَا عَاكِفُونَ. What are these statues that you are worshipping? And that's basically the initial conversation for the ayah. This is their response. قَالُوا وَجَدْنَا آبَاءَنَا لَهَا عَابِدِينَ. The only reason why we're worshipping these is because our parents used to do this. That's the only reason why. Not questioning what it is, not questioning how it came about, but because our parents did this. What was the story of shirk? Can anybody remind me?
Sorry, please.
Shirk.
The story of shit.
Shirk. How did shirk start? Worshipping idols. Yes.
Started when they just they used to remember the places that they used to sit, and then they put a stone there, and it just gradually increased from there.
You know what it boils down to? What?
Snowball effect.
It's a snowball effect. It's basically you're not transferring the message from one person to the other, right? Or things, bits and pieces of it is missing, right? So right now, where we are delivering the message to the next generation. If we keep missing things, what's going to happen down the road?
Even worse.
It's going to be more missing pieces. And basically that's what happened. Remember I was talking about وَدُّ وَسُوَاءَ وَيَغُوثُ وَيَعُوقَ وَنَسْرًا? And how they started, what were they? They were pious people, right? But they started going to them and referencing them, and bit by bit they forgot. what did they end up doing? Worship. Because that's what they thought, that's our parents worship. And they were questioning what Ibrahim was saying to them. And he told them that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only God. He's the one that I will worship. When he destroyed all the idols, they immediately found out that he was the one who did it. Can anybody tell me what did they decide to do?
Burn the fire.
Raise your hand. Put him in the fire. Yes. How did they do that?
Well, I was gonna say he threw in the fire. They tied him up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they were gonna shoot him through a catapult.
Mm-hmm.
And then an angel came and asked, "You have one wish to ask Allah, and Allah will grant it."
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, "I want Allah to forgive me."
Okay. Can anybody summarize what you just said? Brian.
They tied him to a catapult and launched him into the fire.
They made a fire very, very strong, to the extent it said that the birds, when they would fly, they would burn in the sky. They were trying to put him in it. From the heat, they couldn't put him in. They catapulted him into it. And when they did this, this is why would they do this? In front of everybody. Because he disbelieved in what they did. He just disagreed with what they had.
And also because when he told them, he put the axe in.
But that's the thing. He tried to prove to them that these idols don't do anything.
I think they faced it and used, but they didn't care.
Arrogance. They realized, and remember some of this, why was one of his father against what he was saying? It's his business. He makes money out of it. You just broke the cycle. If he doesn't build idols, what is he going to do for a living? So personal interest comes in the way. And when personal interest comes in the way, and that's the thing, we did the story of Sayyidina Muhammad and what he went through. What was it about? The same thing. About power, about money. They knew that he was a prophet. They knew he came with the message. Yet again, they kept doing what they were doing. Why? Money and power. Yes?
Anyone supporting him?
At that time, he had no followers. And there's different narrations. One, when the fire was there, they tied him and he went into the fire. What did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say to the fire? Don't burn Ibrahim. Ya nar kuni bardan wa salaman ala Ibrahim. So be on Ibrahim only. The way that worked. So the whatever they tied him with burnt. And they were shocked when they saw him like this. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know what to expect. There was no followers. The only thing at that time is it's narrated that his mother saw this and he said, "Ask Allah for me to be with you." And she went with him. This is one of the narrations. At the end, nobody followed him except his cousin. Can anybody tell me what his name is? He is another prophet. No. Starts with an L. Sayyidina Abu. He was the only follower, and he lived in that. She was not a follower. He left it. But at that time, he was making da'wah, and nobody was listening. So, subhanAllah, go back to the note that you mentioned. When he was thrown in the catapult, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Sayyidina Jibreel to him. And he told him, "Ask me whatever you want. I'll put down the fire, I'll do whatever you ask me to do. Anything from you, no. But from Allah, He knows. Well, He knows. Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to be my protector. I don't need anything from you. Even you, Sayyidina Jibreel was ecstatic, and he's coming with the order from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, "No, I'm good." at that time. His name is Namrud. And he heard about what happened to Ibrahim. And he decided, you know what, bring me that boy. I want to talk to this boy. Because he claimed to be God. How many of these kings at that time claimed to be God? All of them, pretty much. The majority of them claimed to be God. And he said, I am God. This shows you, some of you are in debate, right? This next minute will show you how to communicate with people. To a certain extent. So when he brought him to Ibrahim, he asked him, you said you have a Rabb that protected you. How did that happen? Or what's your Rabb about? So instead of having the conversation dialogue back and forth, he said, Rabbi alladhi yuhyi wa yumeet. My Lord, He gives life and death. What does the king say?
So do I.
So do I. And he said, I'll prove it to you. You, prisoner, come here. You're going to be killed. You're free. So now you lived. You're going to die. See? I just killed someone and I gave someone life. That's his path. He thinks that I am God. I give one life and I took one away. SubhanAllah, what does Sayyidina Ibrahim do? Would he sit there and have conversation back and forth? And he said, okay. That's very nice. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does something else. Does anybody know what the example is?
He makes the sun rise from the east, and you make it rise from the west.
At that point, what am I going to say? You claim you're a king? Change it. You claim you're a God? Change it. He doesn't even have a response because there's nothing to respond to. This shows you something very important. When you're having a conversation with someone, you need to understand how to communicate with people. You can go down a rabbit hole and keep going back and forth in a conversation that's going to end. A lot of the Aimma used to say, if I had a conversation or a debate with Adam, I would win this argument based on my knowledge. If I had this argument with what? With whom? Someone who's ignorant. He'll win. I see two moves, that's it. I'm done. You guys, I see two moves. Regardless, you need to decide that. When you're having conversations with people, you need to decide, is this conversation worth my time? When this happened to Sayyidina Ibrahim, and we'll continue that next time, inshallah. When this happened to Sayyidina Ibrahim, he realized at this point that I have to leave. Does anybody know which way he goes? Sayyidina Ibrahim is from Babel. Okay? He leaves Babel and goes towards Palestine. On the way, we'll just mention this because again, this goes back again to his dialogue. On the way, is Sister Jan here? Do I have a couple minutes? Jan here?
That's your show.
Okay.
Come on.
Can I have a couple of, just one more part? Okay. So, when he had a dialogue, I love the story, how we had that conversation. And this brings a part about how do you communicate with us. Again, the story of Ibrahim is beautiful of how he was able to communicate with others. He goes and travels, he takes Lut and his wife, and he moves on. And on the path, he goes to a city called Haran. Okay? And this is in Surah Al-An'am, this is what it says. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. فلما جن عليه الليل رأى كوكبا قال هذا ربي. When night befell, this is with these people. When night fell, he saw a star. He said, "This is my God." Sayyidina Ibrahim. Just watch. فلما أفل قال لا أحب الآفلين. And when the star moved or disappeared, he said, "You know what? I don't like this God." He disappeared. فلما رأى القمر بازغا قال هذا ربي. And then next he saw what? What's a qamar? The moon. It's bigger than a star, right? So that's my hope. فلما أفل قال لئن لم يهديني رَبِّي لَأَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الضَّالِّينَ. Then the moon goes away. He said, you know what? If my Lord does not guide me, I'm going to be among those who are off. فَلَمَّا رَأَى الشَّمْسَ بَازِغَةً قَالَ هَذَا رَبِّي هَذَا أَكْبَرُ. The next day he saw what? Sun. Is it bigger than the moon? Bigger. So this is bigger. Remember, at their time, one of the things that when they used to worship idols, they used to have size of idol. If I have a problem, a big one, I go get a bigger idol so I can worship him, so things will be better. If it's a small problem, I'll get a small idol which should take care of it. And that's how what they used to do. So it goes by size. So he saw the sun and he said, the sun is better, sun is bigger, that's my Lord. فَلَمَّا أَفَلَ قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ إِنِّي بَرِيءٌ مِّمَّا تُشْرِكُونَ. O people, I am bari. I have nothing to do with what you guys believe. إِنِّي وَجَّهْتُ وَجْهِي لِلَّذِي فَطَرَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. I have turned my face to who created the sun and the heavens and the earth. Sayyidina Ibrahim did not believe in any of this. But he's having a dialogue. These people of Haran, what did they used to worship? No. These used to worship stars. So what he would do, he was having a conversation with them and trying to get them to do what? What did he do with the idols that he broke down? He broke some of them and left one off, right? Half them fixed things, or asked him what happened. With these he sat with them, because they worship stars. So when they're sitting together, oh, you know what? I like the star, this is my love. The next day, this is going away, this is going away. Bit by bit, he's trying to let them know that these things vanish. They're not there to protect you. They're not there for you to worship. And he was trying to let them know that I saw your point. What's their point? Is that this is what we're going to worship. I saw your point. But you know what? That's the counter to it. If you think that these things are going to be worshipped, how are we going to worship? There must be something out there that doesn't come and go. Because if it comes and goes, is that something that can protect us? Is that something that can take care of things? You know how some people say that all this is done by Mother Nature? Scientifically, if the earth tilts off one angle, what happens? Not everything. It spins out the tilting of the earth. Oh no, this is by chance. This is Mother Nature taking care of itself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not holding it, things will fall apart. So to recap the three incidences that we talked about today, what can we learn? Again, you know the usual. I'll pick on you if you don't raise your hand.
Communicate with people in a good way.
Communicate with people in a good way. Define a good way.
And show them your point without any contradiction.
Show them about contradicting your point. You have to reword it, and I'll come back in. I'm picking people. You know how it is. What did you learn? Anything from what I said today? I hope you learned one thing.
Assess the worthiness of the conversation.
Exactly. Check the conversation. Is this conversation going to go anywhere or not? Am I going to get my point across or not? Now, that's not necessarily saying that, you know what, I'm stubborn and I'm right and you're wrong. That's not what I'm saying. Assess the conversation. And based on the conversation, if you realize that this is not going to go anywhere, that's it. Yes?
You know something that your parents don't approach in a nice way.
You have to approach it in a nice way. Regardless of how your parents are going to respond back to you, you have to approach it in a nice way.
Always talk to your parents in a good way.
Always talk to your parents in a good way. Okay? I'll call names. Don't look on the floor. I'll call names. Tell me something. They all took you? I'm sure there's more. We talked about much more. Anything else? You'll get back to me. Deer in the headlights. Skip. Ibrahim, anything you learned today?
Just because someone did it before you doesn't mean that it's true.
Just that someone did it before doesn't mean that it's true. And you don't follow people blindly. You have to understand things. Hey. Wait.
Okay, so I want to say that based on the reaction of Prophet Ibrahim when he was going to be put in fire, I think what should be driven from that is, to minimize any specific kind of feeling that you need something that you really don't need. Like you just have faith.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, Hasbi Allah. You even had the Prophet. He says, Hasbi Allah. Yes. You got one? Huh?
Alright, so like Ibrahim's father, people are going to do something out of their self-need.
Out of their self-need. Money talks a lot of time. And greed, arrogance, all these things that not necessarily explain. Yes.
You don't teach anything about Allah because when Sayyidina Ibrahim was walking and Sayyidina Ibrahim told him to eat anything, he's like, all I need is...
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yeah, same point as you're sitting quietly. Yes.
They were really hot fire.
Into a really hot fire. That's fine. And what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? What did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say?
Protect only Ibrahim.
Protect only Ibrahim. Girls. And I know most of your names.
Others know when to stop the conversation that you know might not go in.
Repeat that, please.
Know when to stop the conversation.
Know when to stop the conversation. Yes.
Like in the Quran, it's like very specific. So like he said, Kuni bardan wa salaman. If he said Kuni bardan, it would be too cold. Why said salam?
Exactly. And if Sayyidina Ibrahim was mentioned that he narrated later on that this was the best time in his life, was the time that he was in the fire. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Kuni bardan wa salaman ala Ibrahim. So hand.
I'll get back to you.
You'll get back to me. Next in our hand. Yep. You get back to me? Okay.
If you do something for the sake of Allah, He'll always reward you.
If you do something, if you leave something for the sake, do something for the sake of Allah, He will reward you. If you leave something, what did Sayyidina Ibrahim leave?
His question.
But why? See, that's something you learned. So, like anything we talked about is something you learned today.
Don't argue with the ignorant.
Don't argue with ignorance. Yes, please don't. Especially the people that are doing these things these days.
Communicate yourself correctly.
How to communicate with people correctly? No.
How you can change your approach to, based on who you're talking to, so that you will see
That's a great takeaway. Change your approach based on the people you're having the conversation with. He changed his approach when he was talking to the people of the worship stars. So you got to try to show them that the logic that they had was not existent.
When you send a message to the next people, you got to make sure that it's full and you don't leave stuff out.
Yes. So when you're transferring the message, you make sure you transfer the message correctly. Not full necessarily because I'm transferring a message. It's not a full message because I'm talking about specific items. But as long as you're transferring, transfer the message. The more people will transfer, the more people will talk, the more you transfer the information. If you hold it and you're not transferring it, at that point, that's where things got left out.
To stick to what you believe in, even if it means getting thrown in the fire.
To stick to what you believe in. Get back to me.
You don't want to follow others if you don't know why they're doing it.
You just don't follow others if you don't know why they're doing it.
Sayyidina Ibrahim hit the idols with an axe.
Sayyidina Ibrahim did what?
Hit the idols.
Hit the idols, yeah, with an axe. I know.
When he was when he was doing what he believed in, he didn't know that it can do such a bad thing to him. He did what he believed in, and then something bad happened.
But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected him.
Yeah.
Believe what you believe in, like in the religion.
Believe what you believe in. Okay?
Always have your full faith in Allah, just like Prophet Ibrahim did.
Yep.
When Jibril kept saying,
Yep. Okay. Now, yeah, you're pointing out Marwan. You're pointing out. Is there something else hiding magic? No.
He has a fake.
I can see.
How did you see?
You're hiding. Go ahead. Before you Marwan,
Islam is such a great religion.
It's your same comment every single time.
Okay, Sayyidina Lut was the only supporter for...
Sayyidina Ibrahim, yes, I know. Don't tell me you came late. Tell me something.
Oh, I did come late.
I know you guys are. Tell me something.
Oh, always approach your parents in a nice way.
Always approach your parents in a nice way. Now, one thing that none of you have mentioned, the relationship was reversed this time. The relationship was reversed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the guidance to the son, not to the father. What does that tell you? What environment did Sayyidina Ibrahim grow in? Good one or bad? Bad. But with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he was able to overcome this. You have a question? I see a question brewing in your head. Let it go. I'll let it go. Yes?
how old was Ibrahim when he was writing about?
I don't have the actual ages. I can look it up. But I know at the beginning, when he was first sent, it was a that was around your age. But I don't know when it was age. Yeah.
So, like, just generally speaking, like, isn't it, so when you think about questions and how they come and how the answers are being answered, when you think about it, isn't it, like, just from our perspective, like, don't you consider it more where a child would have a less, credible question than an adult would have a more credible answer than a child? Because I feel like that could have been a common mentality, just kind of looking at it from a logistics point of view, it kind of would seem more ineffective in a way. If this person who's younger than you has the information.
Has the information. And that's the challenge in having a younger person talk. Now, just so you know, this happens everywhere. Walk into a meeting and you have knowledge about a specific topic, see how people are going to look at it. Until you prove yourself to others, they won't listen to you.
Exactly, so how did Prophet Ibrahim prove himself?
He didn't. He left. He realized at a certain point, that's remember, the argument he had with Namrud, he realized at a certain point, I'm not going to get through it. I need to move on and continue what I'm doing. But did he stop? He didn't. You know what? What I was doing here didn't work. I need to move on, and I'll move on and do it somewhere else. You never stop. You continue doing what you're doing. Alhamdulillah. I think we'll stop here, inshallah. I mean, we'll continue next time. SubhanAllah wa bihamdihi, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Jazakumullah khairan, inshallah.
Jazakallah.